Now, I'm not even going to sugarcoat any of this for you. I have made far too many mistakes on this financial freedom journey, but I'm going to speak to all of them without any regret because each of my mistakes ultimately molded me into the investor that I am today and can do all of you a world of a difference in terms of financial gain, which is what I'm here for. Of course, I'm no Dalio, Warren Buffett, or Charlie Munger, but damn proud of who I've become and how far I've gotten based on all of my life circumstances, which is key for you also to accept when it comes to looking at yourself in the mirror, because ultimately this journey isn't a race nor a competition. Well, perhaps only between you and you. Questions to think about are you better off than you were yesterday? Are you learning and growing each and every day, challenging yourself to rise to the occasion of more? And most importantly, are you actually enjoying this journey? Now, hopefully you check off those questions with ease. And now, to make it even easier for you, my mistakes on a silver platter so you can hopefully avoid them like the plague and bask in richer profits. With that, investing mistake number 1, simply not starting early enough. That is just bonkers to think about, given I first started investing at 20 years old, with a large chunk of change into what ultimately became my investment foundation until about a week ago, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, which was the fund that played the entire stock market and honestly, you really couldn't go wrong with. But again, the mistake was already made in not picking the fund itself, but rather just starting too late. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but my reality was I had money to invest, and I mean thousands of dollars as a teenager, and I was a machine in terms of work ethic, always working neighborhood jobs from walking dogs, washing and waxing cars, to a busboy, a waiter, pizza delivery boy. I was rolling in the dough as a teenager, and the truth be told, I was just scared to get invested into the stock market because I was afraid of losing money, so I sat sidelines. But here's the thing, time stops for no one, and my money didn't even just collect dust in a bank account, it literally lost value thanks to inflation. So this is all just going to say that the power of compounding is incredibly important. Now, the best way to actually illustrate compounding is to compare the fortunes of two ambitious investors. We'll call them early and late. You see, Early understood the value of compounding as a young buck, and his goal was to tuck away some money for retirement as quickly as he could, and then be done with it. At age 20, he began investing $5,000 per year, but then after about 8 years, he actually was hit with what I call life and stopped investing altogether. Late, on the other hand, quite like myself, didn't actually get going immediately, and actually took some time to jump into the market because he himself was afraid to get invested. As a result, he didn't get started until he was about 28 years old. Mind you, this is the same age at which Early stopped investing. Late began to invest the same $5,000 per month, but he actually never stopped investing until he actually hit the ripe old age of retirement at 65. Now, using a 9% rate of return, let's pull up the numbers to see how Early and Late fared. Early, having only invested a total of $40,000, had time on his side. Late ended up investing nearly 5 times as much as Early, about $190,000. But because he was late to the game, his investments just didn't have the time they needed to truly shine. The end result is that because Early started early, he was able to grow his initial investment by 39 times, whereas Late's initial investment of $190,000 only grew by 7 times. And therefore, if you're 7, 8, or 9, 10 years old, get started. If you're a teenager with a few grand on the sidelines, get started. And last but not least here, if you're over the age of 20, well, I don't even know why you're not invested, so get started. Start today before time actually becomes your biggest mistake by tomorrow. Now, as for mistake number 2, it comes down to simply not having a real plan or process before embarking on the investment journey. And as it said, failing to prepare is in fact preparing to fail. I mean, think about it. Imagine you get on a plane and the pilot has zero clue as to where the heck they're going. You probably wouldn't get on that plane. But better yet, when was the last time you actually got into your car and just drove around aimlessly? At times, does it feel good just to drive around and blast some music? Of course it does. Just like it does throwing some money in the market and hoping to win. You bet that also feels good. But driving around aimlessly is quite a waste of time and honestly a waste of money as well. So too is just throwing around money in the market. And looking back, while I was investing into the stock market because I knew it was something that was important that I had to do to build wealth, I myself had no clue what I was actually doing. I was clueless as to why I was even investing aside from just chasing return. That's a recipe for disaster for multiple reasons, but the biggest reason comes down to the fact that you're likely not going to invest with the appropriate strategy. After all, if any gain is a win, then you're doing great, right? Wrong. You ought to be asking yourself whether the returns that you're producing are adequate for your investor profile. And looking back, investing into high dividend yielding stocks as a 20-something-year-old is just laughable, when I should have been investing into dividend growers for total return. Now, this is all really to say, before you go all in on investing, just have a process, a plan, a strategy for yourself well before pulling the trigger on equities. Ask yourself questions like, how much can you really afford to risk? How much time do you have on your watch to actually stay invested in the market? And if you need the returns or dividends now, or do you need them in the far off distant future? Because depending on those answers, you really ought to be looking at different strategies. Not to mention, have goals in mind and track your progress, because as my father taught me, what gets measured in life gets done. And monitoring your progress can be as easy as just tracking the week to week, month to month, or year over year metrics. Personally, I use Gitcoin to do just that, tracking all of my progress and dividend income, which I highly can recommend for any investor out there looking for an amazing suite of tools that are going to allow you to have complete oversight over your portfolio. But the call is all yours at the end of the day. I'm simply here to say, have a process, a plan, and a strategy set in stone, which then leads me to the third mistake that I made on my journey. But before I cover it, investors, if you're finding videos like today's video to be of value, I have plenty more to offer, so join me here on this journey by subscribing. And of course, if this video is actually delivering you value and you're finding it helpful, go a step further and tapping on that thumbs up button just to let me know that content like this is what you want more of. With that, my third mistake, getting too distracted by yield, which should tell you that I really didn't have a process, a plan, or a strategy in place, and therefore loaded up on dividend stocks that really made little to no sense for me to ultimately invest into, and now has led me to trimming down my portfolio. Now, as a diehard advocate of dividend investing, I can tell you that dividend yields should be a major factor in your decision-making process, but not the bread and butter. And time again, I see investors chasing yields and solely making a decision to invest into a company whether or not that yield tops X percentage. That is just wrong. Outright wrong. It's ultimately about total return and not just the passive income. So first of all, ask yourself what you're really after. Is it the immediate cash flow, say if you're in retirement, which is fine, or is it again the maximum wealth over time? Let me give you a real example, a mistake that I made when it came to AT&T. You see, everyone was gung-ho about AT&T years back because its yield was off the hinges, which got me into AT&T, even though I had no business being invested into AT&T during my mid-20s. However, let's click into the dividend calculator to see the importance of attacking growth as opposed to yield. So let's choose AT&T. We're going to plug in the 1,000 shares there, set that into stone, and even for the sake of the calculation, keep it at 20 years here worth of a time frame. We ultimately get at the end balance there $107,000, and a measly return though of just 67%, averaging a meager 2.6% average annual return, $47 worth of annual dividend income to equate to a little over $8,500. But should I have gone on attacking, just like I said, growth based off of my profile, a stock like Visa would have fared me far better off. As we can see, keeping the inputs exactly the same, a Visa investment would have led to an ending balance of over $1.8 million, totaling over 113% worth of a return with an average annual return of 3.8% and an annual dividend income of $130,000+, totaling well over $500,000 in terms of total dividend payments, which is exactly why each one of us really needs to evaluate where we are in the right investments unique for our individual positions in life. Honestly, I'm just tired of seeing so many comments here on YouTube saying the yields in some of the stocks that I'm mentioning on my channel are too low. That is just driving me nuts here because, again, it's all about where you're at in life and what you're looking for. Now on to mistake number 4, which is, if I'm being really honest, one that I'm still working on, but it comes down to selling out of positions way too soon. You see, we're all often talking about when to buy, but rarely do we hear investors talking about when exactly you should sell and take profits. And of course, depending on the type of investor you are, whether that's a dividend investor or maybe you're trying your hand at growth stocks or even swing trading, just knowing when to sell is key. But if I keep this video squarely focused on me, a dividend investor, the fact is if I chose the right investments to begin with, I should just never really be looking to sell. Unless conditions change, the company goes under or just no longer fits my investment criteria, well then we could sell, or if my investor profile changes. But a quick example here actually just happened months ago and another example a few weeks ago. So I want to go ahead and pull up Apple's stock chart and you'll see that Apple back in May was trading for $192 per share. That's exactly when I thought, that Apple was just at a peak. so I trimmed my position. But the very next day, Tim Cook came out and announced Apple AI, sending Apple stock well above the quote-unquote peak, and never again as of yet to actually return to the lows of where I bought in. And even more recently, I scored more shares worth of Darden restaurants when it fell to about $140 or so per share, knowing full well that this restaurant operator would probably launch back up to the peaks of $170 as interest rates came down and consumers got back to spending. However, I ended up actually selling those very same shares around $155 for a small profit to actually put the capital elsewhere, but now we see Darden's at $170 per share. Ultimately, I'm just here saying don't play Mr. Wise Guy. Don't time the market by any means. When you sell a stock, just make sure it's a sell for the right reasons. Don't just snag the small profits. Buy and hold, collect on dividends. It's as simple as that. And finally, mistake number 5, the one so many of us are making, and I literally see it all the time, is spreading yourself way too thin across positions in your portfolio. This is all to say that if you have a portfolio of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 plus holdings within it, just think about buying an ETF and calling it a day. I mean, it's not worth buying dozens and dozens of stocks and not being able to track and monitor them. And the power of this less is more concept can do wonders for all of us based on simple math. I mean, think about it. If you only have $1,000 to invest every month and you have, say, 20 positions, we're talking about fractional shares here at $50 a pop versus dividing 1,000 by just 5 holdings, which would equate to roughly $200 to invest into each position. You're going to have a concentrated portfolio that's going to return far more over the course of time in terms of appreciation and dividends, not to mention all the big shots do their best to concentrate on the winners and avoid any losers. Of course, wise words from Mr. Mark Cuban, diversification is for idiots. Now, is that riskier? Sure, absolutely. I'm not denying that, but should you win with just 2 or 3 out of the 5, you will still be better off. After all, as with most doings in life, someone who tries to do everything will effectively accomplish nothing. So focus on 5 to 7, max 10 holdings in my opinion. Otherwise, again, double down on an ETF or just the S&P 500 and you'll do just fine. If not better than a portfolio packed with more stocks than you can actually handle. With that, I now want to know some of your biggest mistakes as an investor. Which ones have you learned the most from or drastically altered your investment decision-making process because of them? Comment down below to let me and the community know so we can all learn together. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And of course, thank YouTube for recommending this video with more insights there for you now.